representative democracy, or what is in Europe called parliamentary democracy, is considered by a lot of enlightened, progressive individuals as the most advanced, the most refined, the most democratic system we have. In this late 20th century, representative democracy is antiquated, it's obsolete, it's undemocratic, it is authoritarian, mired in rotten old values. This is not to say that the alternative is autocracy or authoritarian systems. They are even more black-holed in the past. The imbalance is even greater and more grotesque. But let us not delude ourselves. We do not have representative systems anywhere on the planet. Representative democracy, it is a system that is based on leadership. And leadership is itself intrinsically authoritarian. Once you set up leaders and followers, you create imbalances in power, cults of personality, extreme, vicious competitiveness. Anybody who's watched the candidates who are running for office can see it. Now, in all fairness, we do know that this competitiveness exists at all areas of our societies. Who's the best kid? Who's the fastest kid? Who's Mr. America? Who's Mr. this and who's Mr. that? It's a society made of a few winners and a whole lot of losers. And this is exactly how our politics are run. Who attracts the most votes? That is not the issue. The issue is issue. We ought to be voting on issues, not for people. Don't vote for me. I don't want to vote for you. Leadership. What does it presume? That the leader has at its behest something that you and I do not have. At one time this was true. The leader had access to information. This kind of a talk would have really meant nothing 30 years ago. Why not? Because we didn't have the technology for it. Decision-making processes depend heavily on the technology of the times within which they operate. When we had primitive technologies, our decision-making processes were inevitably authoritarian in one way. If you were down there in Nebraska somewhere and the decision-making process was in Washington, D.C., you had to have somebody there to speak for you. But today, you pick up your telephone, you pick up your interactive system, your terminal. At a time when technology, when telecommunication is increasingly interactive, decentralized, what excuse is there? We are better informed often than those people called leaders or representatives. Everyone has access to information. Representative democracy, it is too inefficient, too slow for our times. We have to always wait for the next elections. Over and over and over again you hear the next elections, which means having to put a lot of controversial things in freeze. It is a very, very slow and inefficient process. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, it didn't matter. So you wait 4 years, you wait 5 years, you wait 10 years. It doesn't really matter. In a hyper-rapid world, in a rapidly converging world, where decisions need to be made continuously, it does cause individuals to shift to a certain passivity. If I'm not very happy with you, 4 years later I'll throw you out. We don't have time to wait. Can the world wait every 4 years? We don't have to go through the indirect. We have rapid, universal, personal telecommunication systems. The component parts for the infrastructure for this new electronic democracy. The shift from the old corrupting to something infinitely more democratic. A world that is less torn by domination and submission. I see a shift. I see it happening every day. The increasing emphasis on referendums, the increasing resort to public opinion polls. Now, I am not naive enough to believe that tomorrow we're going to close down the White House and all these little senates and all these little congresses around the country and say, hey, listen, we're going to shift to a whole new system. That's not how things work. You notice, for instance, that the British monarchy has already become highly obsolete, an opéra comique. But it exists, in part because of inertia. And this is what I see happening and obsolescence that I see inevitably seeping into the American political system. The thing is here, there are two ways of going about it. The question that crystallizes in my head is, are the people who are mired in old systems the ones who are going to help phase out their obsolescence? It just goes counter to human nature. If you are heavily vested in some infrastructure or in some system, you're not going to phase out your own involvement. For people who do not have the patience to wait, we don't have to wait for this massive infrastructural change. The initiatives, the forces for change are all outside of politics. You have the environment, the times are right, the technology is right. You have a lovely opportunity to work outside of the old systems. We need not leaders. We do not need representatives. We need catalysts.
Yeah,